Hey guys, welcome to another thrill-packed episode of the Church Media Guys show. And hey, if this is your first time joining us and you want to learn how to use and exploit media and technology and video and podcasting and live streaming and church marketing, email marketing, all that sort of stuff, then start now by clicking that subscribe button and ringing that bell so that you don't miss a thing. With me, as always, is the lovely, the talented, the amazing, the beautiful, the clean-shaven Justin Nava.
What's going on, guys? Someday Dave's going to stop calling me lovely. But yes, it is I, freshly shaven.
The putrid and nauseating? What?
I am here, and now you can see me. But apparently, you're only going to see me for another couple weeks because nobody likes that I shaved. And so let me know. I guess question of the day: do you prefer Captain America, Justin, clean shaved, or would you prefer Thor Ragnarok, Justin, growing the beard? I'm curious to know. But totally just changed the question of the day. What's going on, Jordan, Augustine, Tommy, James, Ramon? Thank you guys for being here live on the show. And I'm ready to talk about recording our sermons because Dave, you just wouldn't stop talking last week. And we
Sorry
had
about
this
that.
whole show of stuff to get through. And Dave was like, no, we're not doing a 50,000 foot view here. We're going to go and inspect the earth with a magnifying glass and cover anything and everything that most people would have to pay for like a $200, $300 course. Dave just gave it to you for free last week, and he's going to keep it up today. So we're talking about recording sermon videos that people actually want to watch. Last week was all about cameras and equipment and capturing the actual video. Today we're talking about audio framing, lighting, software, and sharing. So Dave, we really got to get into it.
Okay.
How was your Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving
was it good? Good,
it was
great. All right, so let's
awesome.
go into audio capture. And no, I'm just kidding. I'm like really ready, raring to go. Your Thanksgiving, it was good?
It was good, yeah. We had the entire family, all 10 of the nieces and nephews and grandkids and stuff, all out in San Angelo at my mother-in-law's, and had a really good time. Went and saw a movie. We always do a movie. Like the guys, we all go out on either Thanksgiving night or the night after and go see a movie. And this time we went and saw Knives Out, which is a great, classic whodunit. So if you guys haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. It's kind of like Orient Express, Murder on the Orient Express, if you're familiar, meets Clue, the old Clue movie from the late 80s. It was really, really good. There is some swearing in there, so just be grown up about that. And don't take your 11-year-old. But it was a good movie, a lot of fun. So that was Dave's movie review corner.
Now, wasn't that directed by the same guy that directed the most recent, The Last Jedi? So is it redeeming for him as a director? Like, is this more like, hey, you should stay in your lane and do Knives Out and not Star Wars again?
I have no idea. I don't want to see an ad for. Thank you. I'm trying to find out about Knives Out. Who did it? Ryan Johnson. Yeah. How about that?
Yeah. Stay in your lane, Rain.
It was good. It was really a good movie. It was a lot of fun. It definitely kept you guessing. They thought you were going down one path, and then they turned it around on you. And I mean, it was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Gonna see it again.
So today's show is not brought to you by Knives Out.
Right.
Go see it. And when you go to the movie theater, use our promo code
Daniel Craig.
Justin Shave to get absolutely nothing at the movie
That's
theater.
exactly right.
AMC's only. Well, my Thanksgiving was good. I cooked 2 full Thanksgiving meals for 2 full families.
Nice.
And I'm so tired of turkey and macaroni because I was at both meals.
Hey, we did if y'all following me on social, on Facebook, Dave Curley, or on Instagram, Dave Curley, y'all saw that I put we did a trash can turkey. Have you ever done that, Justin?
No.
It's really cool.
Not on purpose.
It's really cool. Just in brief, you go to your fire pit or build a little fire pit and take a clean metal trash can that pick it up at Walmart or whatever. I recommend
inside Walmart, not outside Walmart.
No. And it needs to be clean. And I recommend that you like build a little fire under it for like the day before or something, just so you can kind of clean it out a little bit, kind of season it as you were. But basically, you build your little fire. You put the turkey or chicken. In this case, we did a turkey. Go get like a metal paper towel holder and wrap it up in foil, and then you stick your bird vertically on there and go ahead and do whatever rubs or injections, whatever you want to do, and then you set it down. Then you put the trash can over the top of it, and then you build a moat of coals around it and on top of it, and you set them on fire, and you leave it for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on the size of your bird. And basically, when all those coals and stuff like just turn into just nothing but ash, it's done. And it being inside that trash can keeps all the moisture inside there. It's very moist. It's hot. It's about 500 or 600 degrees inside there, and it's crisp on the skin. I mean, it was awesome. I was really surprised. I ate more of that than the deep fried turkey this year, and I love deep fried turkey.
I'll tell you how I made my turkey after the show. In the after show
yes.
that you only get when you watch live. But let's get into it. Audio. So we're talking recording sermon videos that people actually want to watch. Last week we talked about just the camera, the tripod, the SD card, kind of low, mid, high tier stuff. Now we're going to get into, we can't just have video, and you shouldn't have just your camera onboard mic pointed at a speaker. You're not going to get great audio for that. So we're going to talk about audio. We're going to talk about framing, lighting, and software. So let's get into it with the audio. Dave,
yes.
How should we be capturing our sermon audio to go with our video / maybe live stream as well?
The first thing that you want to do is get a feed coming from your soundboard. So if you are doing any sound reinforcement in that room, you've got a little mixer in the back, and that mixer is going to have a output or several outputs on it. If it's 30 years old or better, it's going to have outputs on it. So what I tell people to do is, at an absolute minimum, get the record out, or the tape out, or whatever line coming out of your mixer, and run it into the computer that you're doing the live stream from. Okay. And it's so interesting. People just don't seem to get that concept. Guys, doing this in a church, doing this at home, if you used to take your CDs and dub them onto cassette tapes, it's all the same. I mean, all you're doing is taking a signal going out and taking it into something that's going to record. Now, if you have a computer, I definitely recommend that, then you're going to be live streaming this, right? So we're talking live stream right now, but I definitely recommend that you get like a USB audio device of some kind. It could be like the little dongles that you plug in, USB dongles with a mic input or a line input, or it could be like a digital mixer, a USB mixer, whatever. But just an audio device, not the record in or the mic in or line in line on the side of the computer, because that circuitry is all in there with all that other stuff, and sometimes those things get kind of noisy. And by noisy, I mean there's like radio interference and just a hum or something like that. Don't do that. Use a USB device that sits outside the thing, and then if you're using OBS or vMix or whatever, bring that signal in and get the level set. And there you go. You got good, clean audio. Now, if you're not live streaming and you're just recording onto a camera, then depending on the camera, most of them are going to have at minimum like a mic in, the little red 3.5 millimeter jack on the side. So with that, you can run that line in there. You do need to go into the settings on the camera and make sure that you have told it that this is a line or an AV line coming in and not a microphone, because a microphone is going to be a really hot signal coming in and it's going to be distorted, nasty sounding. So like if you're using the Vixias that we talked about last week, I mean, you just go into the menu and you tell it, hey, the mic is a line signal coming in. Just again, think back, those of you that are my age, think back to recording onto your cassette deck at home, dubbing tapes, doing things like that. It's all basically the same. You're just running a signal from one thing and bringing it into another.
Wherever your final destination is, whether it's the computer or the camera, like you got to get your soundboard feed into that place, right?
Exactly.
That's like ground zero, like undergraduate work right there. You cannot be using just whatever's in the room on your onboard mic. You got to get that feed in there.
I will tell you, the only reason I will ever say it's okay for you to use to not be pulling a signal in from from the mixer that you have in the room is if you don't have a mixer and you have no sound reinforcement whatsoever in that room. It's just a room, and the guy is standing over there at a table, and he's talking, and there's like 20 people in chairs, and we're starting this home church and we don't have anything. Then get a shotgun mic and put it on your camera, or get a get a like a personal recorder. What is it? It's it's not Tascam. It is Zoom. The Zoom people have a little recorder and a lapel mic that they, the recorder's about that big, like one of those little iPods from back in the day. And you drop the mic in there, clip it on, hit record, stick it in your pocket, and it's a digital recorder. And it records on SD cards, and then you can take that out and mix it later. So
that's cool.
Yeah. So, but the main thing is that you want to get good, clean audio. Now, that is step one, is getting the feed. Understanding that the mix is not going to be perfect because your sound guy is mixing for the room. He's mixing, he hears the drums really loudly, so he's not putting them in the sound system as much, which means you're not going to be hearing much drums at all. So it's not going to be a perfect mix once it comes time, for the music and stuff. But once it comes time for the preaching time and stuff, then it'll be fine because it's just, the voice and maybe a video he shows or something. So
now, a question we get as far as getting that feed into your camera or
right.
your whatever destination, pre-fade or post-fade?
If you're using the record out or like one of the subgroups going out, I always tell them to do in this case, you want it to be post-fade because that's it. Just either he's got it in there or he doesn't have it in there. Now, if you're going to do the next step, which I tell people to do, is which within the last year we did at our church, is adding another mixer to it. Now, again, this is going to depend on what your current infrastructure is. If you've got an old analog mixer, and there's a lot of them still out there, believe it or not, you may have only like 4, sub channels going out for send channels. When you're looking at the mixing board, you've got like your faders, and then you've got like your pan, and then above that is going to be maybe like either your EQ, mid, low, high, and then above that maybe your send and return kind of thing, knobs that are on there. You may have 2 sends, you may have 1 send, you may have 5 sends or 8 sends, depending on what you have. You can break that signal up. You can break the things up that are being recorded or coming into your board. So you could take, say, the vocals and send them all out, aux channel 1, and then you could take, say, the guitars and the piano and send them to aux channel 2, and then send those into channels on a separate mixer, like that USB mixer I told you about. And now you've got vocals on channel 1 and music on channel 2, and you can mix them accordingly. You can have a little more fine control, regardless of what is going on for the house mix. If you can do those pre-fade, which means that regardless of what the sound engineer is doing for the room, you can set those levels coming out of the board, and they're always going to be there. And when they get to you determine what their volume level is. That way, if he pushes one up, you don't have to like quickly pull it down on your end. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense, Justin?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's a question I see sometimes a lot too. So
yeah, and
very, very good.
This can become more elaborate. At our church, we have about a 10-year-old board. I can't remember the manufacturer. It's an SD9 Digico board. It's a digital board. It's got Windows running on it and stuff. We have a card. A lot of these digital boards have like expansion cards, or they may have this built into them. Either MADI or Dante. Those are the languages, let's say, the interface languages that will interface with other equipment. We have a MADI system, so we've got a card in there that has some outputs going into another box, and that box, it's actually like over Ethernet, and then that box connects up to our mixer that I use. So I'm able to take, in this case, 16 channels coming from our soundboard and bring them in individually and mix them myself, and it's really clean. It's a lot more than just, what are the aux knobs that we have on our soundboard. Because we are digital. When you're digital, you've got a lot more flexibility in doing things like that, and you can get much fine-grained control. So, if you've been recording the audio of the sermons at your church already for the past however many years, you probably already have that. Going back to the original beginning of this, you already have that line going out into your CD recorder, the tape recorder, the SD card recorder, whatever. Just split that and send it over to the computer for live streaming, or send it into the camera, or just record it. If you're not live streaming, just record it separately and take the tape and take that and mix them together when you edit.
Yeah, Augustine in the chat said he records everything on the Behringer X32 because it's got, you can just shove a USB stick on it, or you can run out to a computer from the board.
Yep.
I always just did it on the stick, and then when we added video, I just posted them together until we actually got the cabling to work.
Yep.
Let me throw one more thing at you,
Okay.
and this is something that a lot of churches don't think about, but you really notice it, especially when you what would we call it? Taste your own cooking.
Yes.
When you watch your own sermon videos and you're like, the pastor's like, I told the best joke. You have to listen to this. And you go to the sermon video and it's like, and so then the maitre d' said, thank you.
And it's just
and
silence.
You can't hear people laughing.
Right. It's the worst.
Or maybe you're streaming the worship, which is more advanced. And, you got that. And Jesus lives. And there's nothing.
Right.
We have what's called a room mic.
Yeah.
Do you recommend having a room mic, or when should we start thinking about improving our sermon video that way?
So one of the things, if you can do a room mic, that is great, or do a
house
series.
mic. What do you call it?
I call it house mic, an ambient mic, an audience mic, whatever you want to call it. The thing is placement for something like that. Here's the scenario at our church. It's like we're in our own version of the Globe Theater at our church. We're in an octagonal room, and so we sit.
Wait.
What?
So whenever the pastor comes up to preach, is Jared like, all right, it's time to enter the octagon?
Yes. Yeah, that's it. We're like, you have to put your shirt back on. Jared, put your shirt back on.
Anyways, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yes. He comes through a cage. And everybody's banging on it. No, we're in an octagon, so we sit in a horseshoe basically around it. Now, the issue for doing a room mic, the person who set up the room mic the first time put it. Our sound booth and video booth is in the balcony, right in the center front of the balcony. They put it like on the ledge and like pointing down, and it's one of these little, stereo mics. It's a great mic and all that, but the problem is that about 10 feet right above us is one of the speakers for the balcony. So that mic is picking up what's coming through the speaker, which would be the music and the talking and all that sort of stuff, and maybe some of the stuff that's happening down there. So mic placement for something like that is going to be important if you want it to not be affected by all the other stuff. So it may be that you need to drop a couple of the mics, like the choir mics that you use. Those type of mics, you may want to like have them at the stage, and point it out. You may want to have them coming from the ceiling and coming down over this section and coming down over this section, so that they're not directly in the line of fire of some of the speakers. You also have to remember that it may be, if you do something like that, it may be picking up people talking before the service, and they may be saying things that are inappropriate, like, I can't believe she's wearing that again, that sort of stuff. So you're going to want to judiciously use that or not use that. What I do, because I don't want to use the mic that we have, Justin, what I do is I tell the sound guy to leave the choir mics on, even though the choir is not there, so that I can push those up. We don't have those on a pre-fade for me. So that I can control them. So I reach over and I unmute and I bring it up, and then I bring it back down and then mute it again. And that gives me the opportunity, because the people are sitting in the audience, and the mics are condenser mics in the choir behind the pastor, but as they're laughing, that sound is filling the room and hitting that back wall, and they're hitting it. So I can bring that mic up. We can get the laughter and the chuckling and all that sort of stuff, and then I can pull it back down. I'm kind of faking it with the existing stuff, if that makes any sense.
But at least you're not running a laugh track, because I've had some pastors. I've had 2 pastors tell me, can you add some laughter there?
Yes.
Like in post?
Yes.
I was like,
and
we'll see. Then you just got Big Bang sermon.
Yeah.
Cool. So anything else you want to touch on audio?
Just practice with it. Go. You really need to be there when the choir is rehearsing. You need to be there. Whether it's on a Wednesday night or something, when there's stuff going on in the room, just be sure that you're there. Even though you may not be the sound guy, be sure that you're there, because you're going to be capturing this, and you need to see what's lacking. I can't tell you how many times, Justin, that I've gotten there, and we've, like, about 3 weeks ago, I nearly lost my mind because we had a guest. We have one guy who's really good on the saxophone. He's fantastic, okay? And he does all our stuff. Well, he wasn't there. So this other guy was there, and he was really, really good, but he doesn't push like our guy does. So he's more timid, on his saxophone. And he had big-time solos going on during one of our instrumental pieces, and for whatever reason, we didn't put a mic on him on his thing. We didn't, the guy didn't turn up the mic for the brass or in that area and stuff. So we had all this wonderful fill from the rest of the band, and everything was really great and all that. But then when he would do his thing, you're just hearing them doing the pads underneath all that sort of stuff, and I was like, this is not a good experience. So you need to be there beforehand. You need to know what's going on so you can say, hey, get a mic on that guy, and send a runner down there to pull a mic over or do something like that. So practice.
Very cool. So we're going to move on. Augustine asked an audio question. It's more of a troubleshooting thing, so if we have time, we'll get to it in the after show. 2 quick fire things, though. Tommy asked, shotgun mic for a 60 by 40 room for an audience mic?
Sure, you could definitely do that. The main thing is where it's going to be. So, those people, if you're in the back of the room mixing, those people are not pointed at you. So you need to have the mic pointed at them. So a mic from the stage pointed at them. It could be if you have an announcement mic that you keep on a stand, in the center of the floor, at the bottom of the stage or something like that, may want to point it there. You may want to set it on the stage with a little mic stand or on one of the steps or something, shooting that way. If you can get it up and shooting, that's even better.
And then Jeff asked, they have XLR audio into their camera, and then that goes out HDMI into OBS. Should he be using, or should we be using separate audio and video as separate OBS sources? It's a live streaming question, but I think it'd be a quick one.
Separate audio and video always. Yeah. Okay. But, I mean, does your camera just catch tremendous audio? No, it doesn't. It's got a little microphone on it. Even if you have,
well, he has XLR going into the camera.
Okay,
from the board.
If you're doing that, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with doing that. I just think it's a
you're combining pipes.
You're combining
maybe
pipes.
Don't have to.
Yeah, you're combining pipes. Yeah, I mean, you're still running the same amount of cables. I prefer to try to keep things as pure as possible. So now I have to go make sure that the levels on the camera are proper. And I forgot that I had the camera out and we were shooting a promo video earlier this week, and I brought it back, and now the levels aren't good, and now it's all bad because I had the wireless mic on the pastor at that time, and so everything was different. And now I have to or you could just run it into a little Behringer USB audio device and run it straight into OBS and have it completely separate and don't have to worry about it anymore. So
one less moving part.
Yeah.
Because we actually had that. We had our sound going into the camera, going into our capture card, going into Ecamm Live. And whenever I took the camera out and used the shotgun mic, I'd have to change the input levels, and then I have to remember to change it. That's another moving piece that maybe we didn't have to. So, Jeff, there you go. Separate audio sources not required. However, it could make your life easier in the long run. Thank you guys for using hashtag question in the chat here and
Yes.
asking questions. We're going to move on real quick because we've talked about this like twice already this year. So we'll point you to the video where we actually talk about it. But
Okay.
real quick, give me an overview on framing as far as when we're recording video of our pastor of our sermons.
Okay.
How should we be framing the pastor and maybe even the worship?
Okay. We have to remember that we're in the room while it's all happening, and our eyes can see so much more and so much more detail and compensate so much more than the camera does. Okay, so I think about it this way: when you're Justin, when you are in a room of 600 people, and everybody's talking and there's music going and stuff like that, you can still have a conversation with me. If we're standing next to each other, we can still have a conversation because I can focus in on you, you can focus in on me, and we can strip out all the extraneous garbage. Even if we were talking on a telephone or something like that and we're across the room, I can look at you and I can focus in on you and all my attention is on you. Okay, so we compensate naturally all the time for imperfections and stuff. The person that is watching this live stream or watching the playback later can't, because they are relying on what is coming through the screen that they're on. So if they're on an iPhone 5, they have a 4.5-inch little screen that they're using. So they're squinting already. If they have, a 6 or whatever, they've got a bigger screen, but they don't have to squint as much. If they're watching on their desktop, it's even better. If they're watching on their 60-inch smart TV, it's even better. The thing is, though, is that 90% of the people are watching stuff on their phones out there. Isn't that about right, Justin?
Yep.
So you want to make sure that whatever is important for them to see right now is front and center. So you don't want to do these wide shots, these back of the room shots. You do those to basically establish where we are visually. You may want to cut to those when everyone is standing up shaking hands during the music, or when there's a bunch of laughter, or when they say, hey, it's Miss Tilly's 100th birthday. Let's sing happy birthday to her. Don't just have a close-up of the pastor singing happy birthday. No one cares about that. Do the wide shot of the room, from the back of the auditorium, showing people standing up, clapping, and having a good time. Keep it in context, tell the story properly, and tell the story visually properly. But for the rest of the time, you want to have like a medium shot of your pastor. If your pastor is a pacer and is like working from one side of the stage to the other side of the stage, you want to have like a waist up, kind of a shot, so that you can just follow him around as he's moving back and forth, or she's moving back and forth across the room. You get closer if you can. If you are, if you're going from the general stuff that we're talking about during a sermon to the more intimate stuff, if the pastor starts to tell a story about faith, and when his daughter was born, we prayed for 8 years to have this child, and then she's in the NICU, and and he's telling this story that is like really deep. You're going to want to zoom in a little bit and get a little tighter and get a little tighter and get a little tighter, so that you are taking the viewer on that emotional journey and you're increasing their interest, because they're focusing more on that. So you bring the camera in more on that. But you don't want to be lazy and be wide, okay? Even, I'm serious, even if you've got one person running a camera and you've got 3 cameras, set them up so that the main action is framed up nice. Worst case scenario, you've got a camera halfway down the outside aisle, and it's shooting at a 45-degree angle at the stage. Let that be a little bit wider. Let that be a head-to-toe shot. It is physically closer, and so the head-to-toe is going to be taking up, a third of the screen, or a 25% of the screen when they're looking at it, even though it's a static shot. Does that make sense? But you have to
absolutely.
You have to think about the person viewing it and what they're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. So remember, it again goes back to we're kind of taking some very simple Q&A stuff that we've talked about before, but it comes back to how are you watching it? Make sure you watch your own live stream, and
Yes.
are you having to squint? I mean, I can relate. Hopefully, a lot of the other parents can relate. My daughter had a ballet recital with dozens of other girls on stage, and I remember sitting there in the audience. I mean, not even in the first section, like the middle section, I don't know, 50, 40 yards away. And I remember the spotlight was on her. I could see her facial expression. I could see everything about her, and she was the star of the show. And then we get the DVD. It's in my desk somewhere. We get the DVD, and I'm like, Grandpa, Grandma, y'all gotta see this. And I put the DVD on. The camera's sitting in the back. It's a wide shot because every kid's got to be in it.
Yep.
And I'm like, you got to see Jill's face, and it's like 3 pixels wide. Jill's
Yep.
face
It's horrible
on the camera, right? And it's just not the same experience. Now, where you don't have a recital of pastors giving a sermon, so if I was to record it on my phone or a camera, I'm zooming in so I can see her and only her. And so it's kind of that thing. You have this wide shot of this incredible looking stage, but the pastor's only going to be, a finger width wide on your phone or even on your TV, a couple fingers. It's going to be real hard to focus, and it's going to be straining. Quite honestly, it's going to be a lot of work. So Cornerstone Church asked, what is the best framing for a single camera setup just for the message? Get in on your pastor, waist up, maybe try belly button up, try upper stomach up, just a couple things. I don't generally below the belt. I don't think that needs to be on there, but generally just did it and stay there. And that means that if your pastor likes to move, like my pastor used to, you're going to have to be,
Someone's gonna have to be on
following and ready to follow. And it's going to make such a better experience. And I'm telling you, like, if you just start getting in and you start panning along with the pastor, your viewership's going to double because people are going to see that it's something that they can actually easily follow.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's they also asked if you have a presenter who moves a lot, would a head to toe be better?
Nope.
In my experience, no.
No, a fluid head tripod is better.
Yeah. So
and practice.
Yeah, it seems that visually it can make you stick watching on a mobile when a presenter moves a lot on a tight shot. For me, like when you're talking about head to toe, I mean, you're seeing the whole thing, and it just makes them a little bit smaller. And the arm actions or whatever, like, what do you need to see the pastor's feet for? You're not watching the pastor's feet. You don't need to see it on the live stream either, right? How many head to toe shots do you see on video when people are talking, unless you're watching the West Wing? But even when you watch the West Wing and they're moving through those halls, it's waist up, right? The feet don't matter that much. No one needs to see that he's moving, like physically moving.
Right.
They can tell when the camera pans with them that he's moving around.
Hey, ask yourself what go watch one of Joel Osteen's services, or watch one of Greg Laurie's. These are professionals doing this. They're making the shots that work. So why would you want to do other than what they're doing? I mean, it's really that simple. Look at what's out there. Watch what is out there that is the same format that you're doing, okay? And do that. It's really, really that simple. 90% of the shots of Joel Osteen are going to be, waist up, maybe mid-drift up, depending if he's standing at the podium or if he's standing beside it. There's going to be those sort of things. As he's moving around, as he walks around, he'll start to walk, and then they may cut to like almost a reverse angle, like one of those far side angles that shows him, head to toe with the stage in context with an audience, and they show that for, 2 or 3 seconds, and they cut back to the close-up or a medium shot of him as he's moving around. Then they may show someone in the audience. They've got a bunch of cameras, but take a look at the primary view that they're giving. That primary view is going to be a medium close-up. And that's what you want to do, because that's what you're focusing on as a person sitting in the auditorium. You're not focusing on the drums and the stage and his shoes and all that sort of stuff. You're focusing on his face as he's talking. So the viewer on the screen who is watching this needs to focus on the face. Give them the face. Don't get it up real tight. And I don't want to hear any of this, but it's hard. He moves too fast, and we can't keep up or something like that. That's called practice. That's why you don't just stick somebody back there. What you do is you train a volunteer on how to do this, and then that volunteer works for 6 weeks straight, every Sunday for 6 weeks. getting used to it. That gives them 6 hours of training about how the pastor moves. Trust me, halfway through a sermon, you're going to start to automate. If you're focused on the screen, if you're focused on what is happening on your camera, what you are looking at, and not just one, oh, it's a pretty day today. Oh, I got to move the camera. No, don't do that. Do your job. Yes, I'm ranting. Why am I ranting? Because people don't take this seriously. I'm just going to stand back there and I want to be lazy and we're going to do this. Well, that's half-assed and don't do it that way. Close parentheses. Sorry. I won't get on my soapbox anymore.
Quick, someone close the parenthesis. I'm just picturing like, close the parenthesis. Yeah, that was a lesson that we had to learn at my church. It's the mental focus and attention that it takes to run music slides is the same that it takes to run the pastor walking around the stage.
You have to be aware of what's going on.
Recording.
Yeah, you got to be aware.
Attention. This is not you're not Facebooking while you're running lyric slides. You're not Facebooking while you're recording the pastor.
Yeah, we're doing a real job for real people that real people want to see. People are out there wanting to watch this. You 1,000% owe it to them to be focused on giving them the best experience possible. Do you want to be responsible for them not having a good worship experience or being distracted? Are you the person who sits in church and constantly is working on the cellophane of the thing and constantly going and making all kinds of noise and getting up and going to the bathroom and then walking around and then talking? I can't believe he said that. Did you hear him say that? Are you the one who's causing all the distractions in church? No. Why? Because you don't want to ruin it for everybody else. Think about it like that when you're just running the camera. Okay.
Yeah. James said, I've caught myself even just listening to sermons when I can't make it to church because it isn't easy to follow on my phone. Good insights. And Roman typed, Ramon typed O-O-O-O-K, which is either ook or I can only imagine him saying, okay. Let's continue.
No, I think it's ook. He's from the islands. They talk weird over there.
Let's talk about lighting real quick because we're stepping outside of what we can do equipment or electronic wise. But as far as the lighting, especially when you got a pastor, I know my pastor loves to move around. He goes down the steps. We have no lighting there, and I have to change the filter or whatever settings on the camera. What can we do to improve our lighting when we're recording the sermon?
Well, you need to realize that you've got more need for lighting in there. Again, we go back to that whole thing about how you and I and everybody else, we make all these adjustments and compensations for what's going on in the room automatically. Our eyes are better than any camera that's out there. We automatically, our pupils dilate and we take in more light even when he moves away from the well-lit area of the stage and he comes down like that. Our eyes adjust to that. Or when it's dim, when they dim the lights in there and we're having a candlelight service or something like that. Our eyes automatically are different. Have you noticed that, like, when your eyes, like when it gets to be in a dark room and stuff, your eyes aren't grainy? You don't see a whole bunch of grainy speckles and a whole bunch of digital noise and stuff with your eyes. No, because you've got the perfect lenses right here. Now, you have to keep that in mind. You need to either have a camera with a really fast lens that works really good in really dim light, or you need to make these adjustments on the camera. In our case, we have a knob. We have like a little VariZoom type thing where we can do the zooming and make a few adjustments right there on the handle, so we don't have to reach up and grab onto the camera and do stuff. One of the things we have is an iris adjustment, so we can bring the iris up a little bit if we need to, if it goes into a shadowed area, and then bring it back down. And our camera ops are trained to make those adjustments as they go because they watch the screen. They are focused on there. If it gets dark, they bring it up. They're really good about that. Whatever you do, don't set it on auto. Don't set your exposure to auto exposure because it's going to be blown out when he's on the stage, and then it's going to get even blown outer and nasty and grainy and stuff when he moves off the stage. If you're going to be recording and there's areas that the pastor is going to walk into that need more lighting, one of two things needs to happen. One being, pastor, stay out of that area. Stay in. This is the area that you can work in during the primary portion of your sermon. Okay? and the pastor may say, I don't want to be hampered like that. Then you say, great, we need to get with the appropriate committee and get some more lighting put in here. It may be that you just need to retask some of the lighting that you currently have, some of the spots and those lights. You may need to add more in the back that are able to shoot into the area. You may need to bring the house lights up a little bit more if you're like some churches and they kind of do a half dim or something during the sermon, whatever. You either need to add more lighting or you need to set some parameters for the people that you need to stay. Here's your boundary. And most public speakers, they just want to know where their bounds are. And you tell them, here's the bounds. Don't go past here. And then they're fine with that. So, you're either going to spend more money or retask what you have or stay where it's lit.
Yeah, we've had it. We didn't even do any wiring or anything. We just changed the type of bulb. For our Christmas production one year, we needed much more wider light.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the music pastor did, but he basically took a bulb out, replaced it with a floodlight or a wider array of light. I don't know exactly how all that works.
For your stage lighting?
Yeah, for the stage
sure,
lighting.
Sure, yeah.
Not sure exactly what he did, but we had way wider lighting and way nicer lighting on the stage without having to do any rewiring. So that might be something to look into. Just look at what kind of bulbs are you using.
Yeah.
James asked a question, what kind of lighting is recommended for video, such as warm, natural, blue, etc.? Is there anything special we should be considering?
It really depends on where you're at, okay? If you're in a completely controlled environment and I'm looking at a dark room and I'm now going to put lights in it, regular daylight lighting, the 55K, 56K daylight lighting is great because it's clean, it's pure, it's like full spectrum, it's wonderful. It gets as close to like natural sunlight as it can, and that is great, okay? If you are doing things in a different environment, for example, let's say you're shooting in a living room, and you're shooting somebody's testimony, and you're doing it in a living room, and they're sitting on a chair in the middle of the living room, and in the back you're going to have an end table with a lamp on it. You either need to adjust the color of the lights that you're using, or you need to change out the bulb in that light to match what you have. Some people have lights that are they're bicolor, so you can either put a gel on it to make it from daylight to make it the soft white, the 32K soft white light, that orangey light that we have like in our living rooms. You can either gel to match that, or you can go put a daylight light bulb in there so that as everything is white balanced and everything is that light is matching the lights that you're casting on there, so there's not these different color casts happening on them. So a good rule of thumb is to be as flexible and have a little bit of everything, or be able to change on the fly. So if you're going to be buying LED light panels, then you want to get the ones that you can change the colors with. So that you can just match, hey, I'm in this room and it's got a couple of really weird lights or something, or, I'm shooting at sunset and so it's like a really orange cast, so I need to light them with some orange light. You can just sort of dial it in to match, and then it's going to look really nice. So flexibility in the area that you're in is probably the most important thing. If you're setting up your video room for shooting promos and doing announcement videos and stuff like that, then you're going to be buying video lights, and most of them are going to be daylight anyway, the 55K.
Cool. Anything else we want to mention about lighting?
Again,
that's about all I got.
The best thing is to just, I keep going back to this, look at what people are doing that's right and try to do that. Don't. A lot of people get this just across the board. Oh, well, we're just a small church, so we're going to do everything small church wise, which means we're going to not put a lot of effort into it. We're going to be lazy about it. We're not going to think, and we're just going to do it because we know we need to do it, and we're just going to try to Forrest Gump our way through it and not really put any real forethought or research into doing it. Well, stop that. Take a look at, there's no reason why your church of 30 people and one camera can't have the same values, production values, and mindset as the people who are doing Lakewood or doing the Crystal Cathedral or doing a Billy Graham crusade or whatever. A TED event, or a Tony Robbins keynote or what. None of that. Y'all are all doing the exact same thing, which is you're capturing a keynote address. So if use the same mentality. They use close-ups or they use medium shots. We're going to do that too.
Yeah, and I often find, as many churches as I talk to, the ones that are treating their live streaming that way or they're recording that way, they're the ones that seem to explode the greatest, because if you treat your ministry in that way, then I think you're going to treat my family in that way with the utmost excellence and best treatment and whatever. So I think that's a really good thing to have.
I agree.
We get to talk about software real quick.
Yeah, let's do that.
So let's talk about software. So we've gone over basically how to capture the best video. However, now we need to tune it up, clean it up, mess it up, fix it up, buy it, use it, break it, fix it.
Yeah.
So tell me what software, and you listed here in our notes here, some different versions for different needs or different price points. So give me a rundown on the software we can use to edit our video.
Okay. If you're doing stuff that's more than just video editing, which means you're also doing some photo work, you're doing some audio, you're doing stuff like that, I tell everybody start get a subscription to the Adobe Suite. It's a full suite of the Adobe Creative Cloud, Creative Suite, whatever. It is a full suite of tools. You've got high-end video editing, but when I say high-end, you can do high-end things, but it's not really hard to learn. It's not. And our CTA insiders have access to some training that I did on that, how to use it. You got audio, so you got a full-fledged multi-track audio editor in there and recording, so you could do a whole lot of stuff. You got Photoshop. I mean, come on, it's Photoshop. If you're doing publications, you've got Adobe InDesign, so you've got this whole suite of really tightly integrated. You can do special effects with After Effects. That's Photoshop for video. All of that is in there, for just a flat monthly price. I always tell people, do that, okay, if you can. Makes it really easy to collaborate too. Now, if you have no budget whatsoever, then there are some free things out there. One of them, believe it or not, is from Blackmagic. It's called DaVinci Resolve, and it is they took their coloring software, and DaVinci is the best coloring software on the planet. Basically, it's been used for decades. It's why all of the movies look as good as they do. And then they started adding things to it like video editing and all that. So you can get a free version of this. You can download it and start producing really high-end stuff. Your edits can be fantastic. It is pro. What's really cool is that the free version has a lot of stuff already built into it. You have access to a lot of transitions and effects and things like that. And then some of it is reserved for the full version, and the full version is only $300. So, the Adobe, Final Cut Pro on the Mac. If you're Mac only, then you can get Final Cut Pro. It's $300. You pay it once, and then you just upgrade as they go. It's the same thing with Resolve, except DaVinci Resolve is cross-platform, so Mac or PC. It is heavy, which means it takes up a lot of system resources, which means you need to, you're not going to use DaVinci Resolve on a i3 laptop with 8 gigs of RAM. You need an i7, and you need a good video card and stuff like that. So if you really want to make it sing, you're going to need to have a little bit more spec'd out machine to do it. A gaming laptop with a lot of memory and a good video card is, or a gaming desktop is kind of a guideline to go by. But it's great. The free version is I only use the free version, but $300. It's great. Another one that I really like is called HitFilm. Let me cut back over to there. There you go. HitFilm Express. So HitFilm is editing software. And it just, if you're looking at this right here, you're seeing all kinds of, special effects looking stuff. And that's kind of what they made it for, was for YouTubers and filmmakers. Yes, you can do, the Tony Stark heads up display kind of thing inside the Iron Man suit. You can actually do all that with inside this software. It's video editing. It is special effects. It is motion tracking. It's all this kind of stuff all built in. The Express version is free. I don't know what the price is for the paid version. Let's just go look real quick. We have a Cyber Monday sale, 40% off. So, it's respectable. If you want to, I always tell people, get the free version of these things like DaVinci Resolve and HitFilm. Get HitFilm Express and start using it and go, okay, yeah, this is the tool set that I want to use. So now I'll go spend the money on it. But those two right there, HitFilm Express, with a lot of just the built-in stuff that's in the free version, you can do a lot. So it uses the same style and way of doing things that Adobe Premiere does, and same thing with DaVinci. DaVinci is a little bit different. It uses what's called a nodal system, so you put all these modules together to make things happen. It's a different way. It's the way the professionals have been doing it for the past 30 years with higher end software. So once you figure that part out and get used to that workflow, it's really easy to use too. So those are some free things.
Cool. Yeah, we have our insiders use different things. I know one of them uses HitFilm Express. Tommy uses Corel Video Studio. Me and Ryan, my favorite buddy, we use Final Cut Pro, and everyone else pretty much uses Premiere. Chris uses iMovie. So yeah, we're all over the place and we're all getting the job done. So don't spend too much time figuring out, I don't know what to do, so we're not going to do anything. Just pick one thing.
just get started. Go download it and go.
I started with Final Cut Express. This is Final Cut 7 or 8 Express. All right, and then it was came with my laptop, and then I bought Final Cut Pro X when it came out.
You can also get Adobe Premiere Elements, which is the consumer version of Adobe Premiere. It's got a lot of the functionality, and by the way, you can also get Photoshop Elements, I think, still as well. So, if you're going to be doing a ton of production, and this is going to be like a regular thing, and you're the church creative director, and so you've got to use all this sort of stuff, go ahead and get the subscription, and it's it becomes a budget item, whatever it is, $60 a month or whatever for the Adobe suite. Just make it a part of the deal, and that's it. If you're bootstrapping all this stuff, then you're going to be doing your photo editing using something else, and you need a video editor, then take a look at HitFilm Express or DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of trying things for free to see if you like it and then actually paying for it, Church Training Academy, this YouTube channel, our stuff on Facebook, that's all free to you. And that's essentially our free version of Church Training Academy Insiders Program. I just want to throw that out there. We talk a lot about, you guys are asking questions, and we try to give you the best answers we can here on YouTube and podcast and wherever else you're watching this. However, your church is in a unique situation. We say, with the audience mic, it depends on where you're at. It depends on, the equipment you have, what's your lighting like. If you really want to get deep into improving your ministry and getting things done faster without wasting a lot of time and money on trial and error, definitely check out Church Training Academy Insiders Program. You can go to churchtrainingacademy.com/join. And if you enjoy listening to our free stuff, you're really going to enjoy, being able to talk to me and Dave one-on-one and the other insiders in our Facebook group, because you're just going to get where you need to go faster. So instead of waiting for us to address things in our free stuff, we try to give you as much as we can. You can actually get to it much faster inside the Insiders Program through our group coaching, through our Facebook, through the training that we provide. So this is kind of like the free version. So if you like this, you're really going to enjoy and love and find every penny worth it, the CTA Insiders Program. Tell me, converting software. Do we need to be concerned with converting software when we record and edit our videos?
Most of the editors and stuff will take what the cameras are recording now. So I mean, even if you're like live streaming using OBS and you're recording it as well. By the way, people do this, okay? So you can use a high quality recording to podcast from or upload to YouTube or what have you. You're going to be using MP4 files. You're going to be using MOV files, depending on the cameras that you're using. Even if you've got a camera that's recording in like MXF files, all of those formats and stuff are readable by the editing software. If you have the Adobe suite, the transcoding and encoding software is built in. It's a module called Adobe Media Encoder, and it's great because you can batch stuff. So like last night I was working on the TV show, and so I got all the segments done for the TV show, got all those loaded up into the media encoder. I did an opera video, and I got all those things loaded up into the thing, got our sermons, got all that stuff loaded up in, and then before I went to bed I hit go, and it started going through and just rendering all these projects and creating all the video files and all that sort of stuff. And I was even able to set it up so that when I record certain things, they get uploaded to the appropriate YouTube channels and set as private, so that I can, today I can go in and, finish them out and publish them. So that's great. It's you install Adobe Premiere or After Effects, and it gets installed as well. If you need to do things, I don't know if Resolve and if HitFilm allow you to batch stuff, or if you just have to, if you have like a queue for rendering or not. But check into those and see if they do, because that's always the best way to do it. When instead of get the timeline done for this thing and then hit render, and now you've got an hour before you can, start editing on your next thing. So I think they have queues built into them as well. If so, that's great. I know that Final Cut Pro doesn't. You basically, well, hang on. No, when you go to share something, does it work off in the background when it's sharing it, and you can just turn around and keep working on other projects, Justin?
Yes.
Or does it take over?
No, it doesn't take over.
Okay, good.
But you don't have, you're talking about exporting out of Premiere, right? Mm-hmm. You just don't have the ability, and this is one of the reasons why I finally switched to Media Encoder. Mm-hmm. You don't have the ability to pause it or like manipulate other things that you might need to. Like for me, the biggest thing is pausing it. So if I do need to do something, like I'll try to check my emails, and if I find that it's just really
bogging
not
down,
letting me do that, I'll just go and pause it real quick, and then maybe wait till lunch. You can't do that if you go directly out of Premiere.
Right, exactly.
Or Final Cut, I think too. I think you got to go into Motion or compressor, whatever the FCP version is.
Right.
But yeah. So one other thing too, I literally just watched a video on this from Owen Video, I think this morning. I had it playing in the background, and he said something, and I was like, "That's such a dumb moment," because I have this piece of software.
Okay.
Churches, I understand we don't have the fastest internet, and I understand that it can be a pain when you edit it maybe at the church, or maybe you don't have fast internet at home, and you got to let it upload to YouTube or wherever you're putting your video, and it's going to take 8 or 9 hours, and you're just like, I don't have this time right now. What you can do is you can convert it to a smaller file size. And I know we're not talking specifically converting it, maybe compressing it, but what you can use is a tool called Handbrake. I have that on all my computers, and you can actually create a smaller video file size without losing too much detail or quality. And so you could take that 2 gigabyte video, right? If you just can't get it down out of Premiere or Final Cut any more than that, you can put that into Handbrake and turn it into a 400 megabyte video file without losing very much detail. And so if it's not so much converting, it's not so much compressing, but it's just doing stuff with a file to make it smaller. Definitely check that out if you just don't have the know-how to do it yourself or the fast internet speed. That, I mean, I was at a church one time. We had 15 down and like 1 up, and that was for like a church and a school. So during school hours, it was a pain to try to upload something. You can make it a smaller file size with something like Handbrake.
Yes.
It's an open source software. Go check it out.
Also, there's one called Adapter. It's from a company called MacroPlant. It's free as well, and it is meant for batching. So you can take you can take all the sermons in your sermon series, all 8 in the sermon series, and put them in there, and then say, okay, I'm going to choose this preset. And now, you choose one preset for everything in the batch. That's one of the caveats to it. You can't have like multiple stuff. But let's say I'm going to take all of these, 10 gig video renderings, these ProRes, high resolution files like that, and I need to make them all into MP4s, then you can go in there and say, hey, I want to make it an MP4, I want to make it 720p, and I want it to be, this big and this audio quality, and then hit go, and it does its thing. It also, you can generate MP3s out of all these things. So you can take that master file, drop them in there, and then say, make it a, 256, MP3 file, and go stick them all in this folder, go. And then it goes through and they're all done. Now you got all these MP3 files you can throw up to Podbean or what have you.
Yeah, very cool.
Yep.
And then archiving. When we're done editing all our videos, should we be throwing them on VHS tapes because they're indestructible? And I've heard that before.
Yeah.
And should we be putting them on a USB drive, backup drive? Should they be? What should we do with our videos when we're done? And
I say you definitely keep a copy. If nothing else, the YouTube copy of it, that quality. And when you're uploading to YouTube, if you've got any kind of, either you have time or you have a good connection where you can do it, you need to be doing minimum of a 15 megabit MP4 file, which means your sermon's going to be 4 gigs. YouTube doesn't care about the size, but you do for storage and stuff. So I say, worst case scenario, you get an external USB, 2 terabyte drive or something, and you archive them off onto this. And here is our church sermons for 2019. They're all on here, and you write 2019 on there, and you go stick it in the closet at the end of the year. Now you can always go back to that and re-encode. You've got enough quality in there. You can redo the MP3s. You can make them into DVDs. You can do whatever you would need to do. You have an archive of that, and as long as there's not a magnetic pulse, it's going to be fine. If it just sits there and is not used, should be fine. You could do that with SSDs as well if you want to use SSD drives to do that. If you want to go a little bit, give yourself some redundancy and stuff, get yourself a network attached storage device like a QNAP or a Drobo or something like that has multiple drives, has redundancy built into it. Gives you, it's like wearing a belt and suspenders. Your pants are not going to fall down. So I've got a QNAP device sitting down here. It's got 4 drives in it. If one drive goes bad, I can put in a drive that's identical to it, and it will rebuild stuff. I got several Drobos in here, and same thing. I can put in a drive that's the same size or greater, and it will totally rebuild, and all my data is good. The only time, I did have a catastrophic failure on a Drobo, and 2 of the drives got corrupted. I have a 5-drive system, and 2 of them, and you can set it up actually so that you've got 2 drive redundancy. So 2 drives could go bad and you could replace them. Mine was set for single drive redundancy. 2 drives went bad and a bay went bad. It was like an electrical surge or something that messed it up, and I had catastrophic failure, and I had to rely on my Carbonite backups or Crash Plan backups to start sucking down files. But that's pretty rare that happens. So if you can afford to do something like that, and they're getting cheaper. I mean, several $100s, not like several thousand, for redundant storage like that. So I would do that. And hard drives are cheap now. So, you're talking $50 for a 2 terabyte, Western Digital drive. So, I mean, you've got some options out there. And offsite storage as well. Use something like Carbonite or Crash Plan or something like that gives you basically unlimited storage, and you tell it what folders to back up on your system, and just keep it running, keep your system running, and while you're not there, it's just shooting stuff up and giving you offsite backup. So if your house explodes or the church burns down or a sinkhole swallows your town, chances are that data center that's in Montana is going to be okay, and you can recover your data.
Yeah, and it's very important too, just to mention, there's a difference between an archive and a backup.
Right.
I've had people tell me, "Oh, all my tests," as a teacher, "all my tests are gone from my backup drive," and so I went and looked at the drive, and I said, "Yeah, the drive's bad. That stinks.
Yeah.
So what's the problem?" And they said, "Well, I don't have any more. That's where my tests were." Okay, Mrs. Rodriguez, it's not her name. That was not a backup drive. That was your archive. If it only lives in one place, it's not a backup. Okay, that's your source, right? So backup is basically free nowadays with YouTube. So I always have the sermons edited. They're archived at the church. They got a backup copy on YouTube. Maybe I throw another one on Vimeo. So I have them in multiple places. So if that drive dies, or if my YouTube account gets shut down, or if we lose the login for Vimeo,
Yep.
I have another place to grab the video from. If it only lives in one place, it's not your backup.
Right.
Okay. It is the source. So you keep it on your computer, you move it to the USB drive. The USB drive goes in your locker. Great. But what happens if the locker is damaged, or the magnetic pulse, or the building catches on fire, or the drive, God forbid, fails? I've even had a 4-drive RAID. One of the drives broke, and it broke a circuit or something in the RAID. I took it to a professional computer repair shop, and they were like, "This should not happen, but we can't recover any of your data." And it was like, what is the point of having this backup drive RAID system if one drive fails and it just blows the whole system? I can't explain it.
Right.
The dude couldn't explain it.
Which is why I tell people to get Drobos, because you can have drives of different sizes.
Yeah, this was put together by the last IT guy before I got there.
Yeah,
exactly. So I don't know what happened. But anyways, you can do. Jordan just turned me on. He put in the comments Backblaze.
Backblaze. It's a data center.
That one seems very reasonably priced.
Yep.
If I'm reading it right, $60 a year, that's nothing.
Yeah, that's $5 a month.
Your church spends more on communion wafers.
Yes.
So get that for your computer and your sermon archives. Anyways, okay. Last thing we're talking to, because this show's going on over an hour now.
Yeah, we need to make this very quick, because I've got to get Jana to school.
Me too. I mean, I have to go too, not to get Jana to school. Sharing. What do you do with your sermons once you're done editing them? You got your video. How do you get them out to the world to see? Are we burning DVDs?
No. Use your social. In fact, I think you and I need to, someone that we both follow, Sunny Lenarduzzi, has a really good method for sharing her videos and her podcasts and all that sort of stuff, a really good methodology that you and I are trying very hard to adopt. And I think we should actually share that, share that methodology maybe next week on the show with folks to talk about that, because there's a lot of thought that goes into it. If you wanted, one of the things that we're constantly, when you guys join the Church Media Hacks group, one of the things, there's two things that people say more than anything. It's how to live stream, how to have good video and audio quality, and then also how to have engaging social media stuff that people want to watch and that people want to engage with. And her methodology for doing that is what's made her a millionaire several times over through the videos that she makes and the stuff that she makes, which means it's successful. So maybe next week we'll talk about that. But the net of that, if you never see this ever again, is you need to share the stuff and you need to promote it and you need to be shameless about it. One of the things that we're always really bad, Justin and I are bad about this, is promoting our stuff. We feel like, oh, we don't want to bother people, and I don't want to stuff like that. Okay, well, they're never going to know about it if you guys don't know about the show if I don't bug you and say, hey, come join us for the live show.
The cardinal sin. Oh, they know it's there.
Yeah. No, they don't. They don't give a rat's bottom about what you're not putting out because they don't know it's there. You haven't told them, and you have to remind them. There's a reason that commercials play as many times as they do on television, and there's a reason that you see a commercial on television, you see the same ad on YouTube, you see a pop-up ad on a website, you see all this sort of stuff. It's called advertising, it's promotion, it's marketing. You have to do it, and thankfully, there are a lot of really good tools that are available for you to do it. So we can share all that sort of stuff with you next week and kind of throw out a nice little workflow that seems to be working that he and I are adopting.
Very cool. So we'll talk about sharing. Of course, you don't want to just put stuff out there. You want to make sure people know where they can find your sermon videos. You want to clip them for social media because shorter videos are typically going to work better.
Yep.
No one's going to stop scrolling on Facebook for a 45-minute sermon, but they will stop for a 3-minute sermonette.
Yep.
And just real quick, we'll talk more about it next week, but I want to make sure I mention sermonclipper.com.
Yes.
Basically, once you edit, you take all this stuff and you got the fantastic sermon video edited. You can send Sermon Clipper your sermon video. They're going to grab clips that will share easily to social media and get more people paying attention to your video, because once they watch that 3-minute sermonette video, sermon clip, they are going to follow you more with more focus and more engagement to maybe watch the rest of the sermon, hear the good news, see what your church is doing, and get involved that way. Mm-hmm. And as a special thing, tell them you came from us. Use the coupon code HACKERS. You get 10% off for life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just for following us and letting them know that you heard about them from us. So sermonclipper.com, promo code hackers. But we'll talk more about sharing next week.
If you've
Augustine,
gotten
we
some
won't get
good
to your
value
question.
if you've gotten some good value from everything that we've been doing and are enjoying it, be sure to leave a comment. If you want to go a little bit deeper, then check out this video. And if you want to see some of the other stuff we're doing, then check out this video. Justin and I love you. Take everything you've learned and use it to go change lives. We'll see you in the next one.